So I played Ghost of Yotei and yeah, this game was just okay. It's a case of a sequel attempting to be greater than the first game, but Yotei just ended up being Ghost of Tsushima all over again. Before we continue with the review, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the hype button. I'm showing you where the hype button is right now. And I'm grateful that Jehovah God and Jesus Christ brought each and every one of you to my channel, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of the video. Yotei tried to be different, but anything built on the foundation of mediocrity will end up being an average experience at best. Yotei uses the Ubisoft open world setup. Each region has a main boss with some unique enemy type that requires you to get an item, or in Yotei's case, a special weapon, in order to even the playing field. This formula has always caused a progression issue. Every new region is really the same difficulty as the last once you find the special weapon or gear to even things out. The game never really ramps up, and while Atsu gets stronger, your enemies become pushovers really fast. I started the game on lethal difficulty, the hardest difficulty in the game, because Tsushima was so easy. I just figured I might as well start on the hardest one here, and well, these were my results. Yeah, unfortunately, lethal difficulty is not balanced in this game at all, and it's more like a challenge run because everything is basically a one-hit kill. It sucks because I was enjoying mastering bosses and getting my timing just right to beat them, but it breaks the RPG mechanics. Leveling up your health is irrelevant in this mode, when no matter what you do, you will die in one blow, so what does it matter to do so? The fact that this AAA game does not have a well-balanced ultra hard mode is a problem, and I will strike the game for it. But thankfully, just dropping it a little bit lower to hard mode was good enough for me. But honestly, I would just stick to normal difficulty anyway because it's not even hard on hard. It sucks that Yotei is not the type of game that will test your skills in any meaningful way, especially with enemies that will defy the laws of gravity just to hit you. Like, look at this dude, he's just floating on air to attack me because in this game, if you dodge anything, technically the range of the dodge will just get you out of any attack range. But to compensate, they made the enemies just float towards you so that you'll get hit regardless. You have light attacks to do damage, heavy attacks to break stamina, and your standard block, parry, and dodge for defense. Which translates to absolutely nothing has changed from Ghost of Tsushima into Yotei, and even the parts they tried to make different and innovative really aren't. It's just a big whole lie. And I knew when I saw the trailers for Yotei that them showing off all these different weapon types really would mean absolutely nothing in the end. Because in Ghost of Tsushima, you use one weapon, the katana, and it had many different weapon styles. They took this same system and just replaced it with different types of weapons, which is disappointing and confusing. Each weapon has a type of enemy that it's strong against, and it's zero reason for you to use it on any other enemy type, which removes any creativity or thought in gameplay. It turns a cool combat system into basically match the colors, or in this case, match the weapons fighting system, and it's not all that enjoyable. Atsu is an untrained samurai with some nice animations for each weapon. She fights really dirty and unprofessional, and she can even pick up weapons and throw them back at enemies, which I love to do. And all of her weapons, she has these cool animations, but it doesn't really matter because the common weapon you'll be using is your katana. You see, katanas beat katanas in this game, and guess what? Most enemies use katanas. Even the shield enemy, which you're supposed to use the sickle on, becomes a katana user if you don't kill them quick enough. Which means you'll basically never use the sickle part because that's the light attack, and the heavy attack breaks shields, and once you break shields, if you're not getting constantly jumped, you could technically use the sickle on them, but again, they throw so many enemies at you in this game that keep switching weapons, you'll unlikely use it and just have to switch to your sword, making this weapon kinda halfway pointless. I'm not trying to completely crap on this game, but these were the same issues that the first game had. Jin had these cool weapon stances that you will only use on certain enemy types, and going against the grain could get you killed. So it's the same thing here. This series needs to drop this rock, paper, scissors like fighting system and just turn the combat into a deep samurai experience. And the sad part is that there are glimpses of this in the one-to-one battles. Swapping weapons here isn't so bad because most of the time these opponents only have one or two weapons, and switching between 1 or 2 weapons isn't that big of a deal. But once you get locked into a rhythm of dodging and parrying, you can see what the game could be if they just change things up a bit. Speaking of the unchanging, stealth is exactly the same as before, but because this game doesn't really talk about stealth that much in its story, it's even less important here. But if you want to know what it's like any other open world game that has life stealth gameplay. It just gets the job done. It's nothing impressive, but if you want to do some stealth in here or there, you can. The RPG elements in Yotei are also unchanging. You complete quests and earn money, gear, and upgrade points. Now, Atsu being an actual character with a personality unlike Jin makes all her quests more enjoyable from the story standpoint, as there's a great improvement there, but it's only good in comparison to Ghost of Tsushima. Comparing it to any other game, it's nothing special. No one is going to remember any of these quests in any great detail after they put the game down. They work in the moment, but nothing more. The armor system in this game returns and is just as flawed as it was before. You battle between style and utility constantly. Do you want to use Atsu's ghost powers to the best of their abilities without wearing her ghost armor? Well, you can't, because if you want the best out of her ghost powers, you need to wear the particular armor with the perks on it that only apply to that armor and no other armor. So because armor sets have skills locked to them, any cool armor set that doesn't serve your gameplay style, you'll just never wear ever, which is a waste of not only time and resources from the development standpoint, but it also just sucks from a player standpoint, because some of this stuff looks cool, but because it's not the way I play, I just don't use it. I'm telling you, from top to bottom, Yotei is just Ghost of Tsushima all over again. Even the world of Etso, even though this is technically way in the future from Ghost of Tsushima and it's a different part of Japan, because it's still ancient rural Japan, which is nothing but wilderness, you wouldn't even know this is different. You might even think this is just Tsushima. You can't tell the difference between the two maps. Now, where Yotei is also unchanging, but in a good way, is in the graphics. This game looks phenomenal, and YouTube will not do it justice. Trust me. I thought this game didn't look that much different than Ghost of Tsushima just by watching it on YouTube, but seeing it in person on a standard PS5, not even the Pro, this looks way better than Ghost of Tsushima, and it shows off the PS5 SSD. Look how quickly I can jump between a fresh start of the game, this is not a suspended play, back into where I was. It's that quick. And they add in some gimmicky but cool DualSense features as well. But in the grand scheme of things, these are just sprinkles on what is considered a bland piece of cake. It will not save it. It will only make it look prettier. I believe where Sucker Punch tried their best to innovate was actually in the exploration. The open world objectives like camps, shrines, puzzles, and villages are all the same as before, but the way you discover them was made to be less aggressive. Well, kinda. Gamers, especially like me, are overwhelmed with so much content popping up on your map that it has become a meme over the years. Yotei wanted the player to slow things down and discover things on their own over time. They borrowed from The Legend of Zelda and gave Atsu an instrument, and this instrument allows her to play it and discover different locations she has not found yet. But you could do this on your own time, so it's not a distraction. You could get maps to new places in this game, but it's only discovered once you've done this horrible minigame to find out what a new location is. But again, the point is that they try to give the player some type of control, which I can appreciate. And if you really want to, you could find a high place in the open world and use your telescope to look out in the distance to find new locations you haven't visited yet. I really like this feature. All of this was awesome, and I love their attempt. But remember what I said about this foundation. This is still built off of the foundation of Ghost of Tsushima, which means they did not remove the bird system or the fox system, which distracts the player away from what they were currently doing to go to a nearby location. And these aren't simple things that you're ignoring. These locations that the bird and fox can bring you to are to shrines and places where you can level up, get more health, get new items and weapons. So you're going to want to do them, and because you know the bird popped up and it means that the location is right nearby, you're going to get off the beaten path and go wherever it tells you. Also, you don't even need to get that close to landmarks on your map before the game just adds it to your map. So even when you're just running around the map doing whatever you're doing, you're going to fill your map up whether you like it or not. And because many of the side quests in this game are actually important, they will fill up the map as well. And you will need cash and resources, so you probably should grab every bounty you find once you go to town because it's more effective that way. We got two systems that are playing tug of war with each other. And the craziest thing is that they already borrowed from Zelda. They could have just looked at Breath of the Wild, which figured out how to do this already. but they decided not to copy them and just build off of Tsushima, which is the opposite of the direction they're trying to go in. Really weird. Now, as far as the story goes in this game, well, I can say that this is outright the greatest improvement to the series. If you want to experience a pretty good story about revenge and forgiveness, you can't go wrong here. Atsu's quest for revenge isn't deep, but they do a good job of allowing the player to grow with Atsu, so you will actually care about her story yourself. I will say that her revelation moment came a bit too fast for me, but by the end of the game, I was still satisfied, so no harm, no foul. I also loved how her legend as the Ghost, or Onryo, is earned in this game. The more members of the Yotei 6 that she takes down, the more the people fear her, not only in the story, but even in the gameplay. And not everyone fears her. Some see her as a sign of hope and will leave her gifts to help her in her adventure. Again, blending the story with the gameplay. Saito will send troops to hunt her down, and her bounty will grow. She becomes a wanted woman, and is reflected, again, not only in the story, but in the gameplay, which is uncommon in most games that actually have stories that should affect the gameplay, but they don't really. I love this part about Yotei, and it's the best part of the game. More games should make an effort to make the consequences of the story reflect in real time in the gameplay and not have it feel disconnected. And once again, Yotei has some amazing graphics and acting, helping to sell the emotions that are given off by the actors in the story.
Atsu. It's me. You don't recognize your own brother.
Yotei had some high points, but ultimately it's just more of the same generic open world formula that Ubisoft started and Sony has decided to copy. The potential for a great game is there, but we will probably never see it, especially on disc. Most people will be satisfied with the graphics, story, and simple gameplay. It's a game for people who want tons of content even when you experience everything in the first 5 hours. A game that was designed to keep scratching that part of your brain that says just one more bounty. Only because every objective is so close by, you might as well do it even when the reward is nothing and the gameplay itself is just okay enough to not be boring. Ghost of Yotei is your average open world game with a Sony production budget. And for most people, that's enough. And on some level, I am most people. But man, I wish it was better.